Jackie Lapardo, Esquire, class of 1996. I'm an attorney, and I'm in New York, back home, practicing entertainment law.
Nyree Ramsey, Posse student at Vanderbilt, Posse 4, class of 1997. Returned to be a Posse mentor, and then graduated again in 2000 with my MED. That was with Posse 9. Jackie's Posse 3.
Yes.
Post Hurricane Katrina in law school now. So I'm in law school in Connecticut and glad to be here for homecoming. Like the summer that the house was going through all of its transitional periods was a very interesting and trying summer for a lot of the black students here, because the house represented, you know, a foundation for so many of us. So when you had administration changing, and these were the people who supported your projects and supported your student initiatives, you know, you kind of feeling like, are they trying to block our student initiatives? You know, like, what's really going on? Now, that didn't stop us, certainly, because the spirit and the power of truth was in the things that we did. But to watch those kind of changes happen was a very scary time at Vanderbilt as African-American students. So when you come back and you see how things have gotten bigger and better, you're like comforted, because that meant the direction kept going correctly, as opposed to it being like what they done did now. You know, so it was, the change was a double-edged sword in that regard. It was, okay, what's going on? And of course, we don't have privilege to so much information because we're only students. I know, but then,
yeah, but you know what?
Like, it was crazy.
A lot of times we did have privilege based on who we associated with and who was standing for us on the faculty. Ray Winbush did not play that. Okay, Ray Winbush, he was like, if they're doing something for the students, that the administration is deciding something, students must be involved. And so where we didn't have access to things, Ray would just, look, we'd be going to administration meetings just off the fly with Ray.
Ray Winbush definitely invited us, and then we were also continuously invited to meet with the chancellor to discuss changes that need to happen at Vanderbilt. So Ray gets all the props for being an administrator who recognized the importance of having our input at the table, you know, not so much just part of the discussion and, you know, the focus group, but at the table. Right. So it was empowering to be sitting at some of those meetings, but at the same time, but Ray's not here. You know what I mean? So regardless of that support, they got rid of him.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that summer, that all happened that summer. So I'm just saying that to say that when you have someone like that who's for the students, and all of a sudden you come, Asali and I came to the Black Cultural Center one day to use the computers, and it was dark and the door was locked. And we all know that the house was never like that. So that was like shocking right there. You know, then you come in and you find out what's going on. They said Ray is no longer the director. We're police in the Black Cultural Center when we got here. We're like, yo, what's up? And it's over the summer, so you know no one's here. Perfect time to do it. But you know, they had a mission and they tried to fulfill it. Like Nyree said, they couldn't succeed, but it was a very painful time for a lot of students, especially me and Asali, because we were here physically going through all of, like, okay, we meeting with this dean. We didn't wait. You know what I'm saying? Like, we went and we tried to say, okay, no matter what happens, there must be student input in the decisions for the Black Cultural Center now. We have to be involved.
And we created the Black Cultural Center Advisory Board, you know, to make sure that our input was part of the table's discussion, regardless of our physical presence there as well. So I think Ray allowed us the opportunity to be able to just articulate what our concerns were, and then the administration responded by making sure that, you know, you got those meetings. You know, you forced them, but they were necessary, and you got them because we were respected for Ray allowing us, I guess, to be there. But it was, again, it's double. It's, you know, like a lot of things.
I'm so glad that when I came to Vanderbilt, I came when I came.
Yes.
I'm so glad they missed out on that. I mean, I really feel for the students now, because they don't know. Y'all, you just don't know. But to come back and have that feeling when you see the people that were here in the house, and you see them now, you're like, yeah, you know, we went through it. We went through it together.
This was a wonderful homecoming experience. But I think, just back to your point, it is about recruitment, you know, and I think, and again, in terms of just being thankful of time and space and opportunity. So they were looking for a need when they started picking African-American students from they were looking for African-American students from the urban community. And so we fit that profile. And I think, you know, in many instances, it might have been a case study. I'm sure there might be some more information that comes out later, you know, about our time at Vanderbilt. But certainly, you know, we came here knowing that there was going to be oppositions or challenges, but we still knew that we were going to create a space that was safe for us. And so the house was safe for us because not only did it allow us to commune, you know, in an environment that was homely, which is important. You were communing with people who were like you, and they also felt comfortable and safe to be, you know, talking about their experiences away from the experience. I mean, so for people to say, why would you want to be home, away from home? Because sometimes that's necessary, and you create home in different ways. I mean, okay, it could have been every Monday, you know, morning we get together and we go to Dunkin' Donuts. Whatever that space was that we needed to create to remind us of home is sometimes necessary in your success. So yeah, the house was that home, and it was necessary, you know, for our success. So the fact that students don't have that now, I think, is a reflection of there not being a need, because they're not recruiting students who are looking for that. They're not getting urban activists who recognize that I have to create a sense of community wherever I go. So for us being the house, the home, that sense of community, that's your most intimate setting, you know, and that's where you learn your values and your principles, and you take it and go forth. So, you know, on many physical levels, on symbolic levels, that's what the house represented. And I think, you know, them having posses helped them to get a certain kind of student here. And then certainly as the recruitment, you know, efforts expanded, they were, you know, they continued to get, you know, students who were from urban environments and who could kind of, you know, just be very active and be leaders. But then again, the transition had to happen because we were just doing too much, I suppose. You know, we were demanding and receiving, and they weren't used to that kind of a bargaining, I guess. But hey, we recognized our value. And I think what happened in terms of recruitment is now they're getting students who might only recognize their academic value. And they don't recognize their value as leaders to be, you know, Black people have always been integrationists. That wasn't about color. That was about need. You know, I want my baby to survive. So whatever I have to do for my baby to survive is what I'm going to do. You know, but we still maintained our sense of identity and our cultural achievements. And I think that, you know, with this recruitment effort that's going on now, you know, that's great that Vanderbilt is like #2 in the nation, I think, for having the most minority students. I am impressed.
They are?
I think, we jumped something crazy. I mean, it's something ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But minority, the definition of a minority.
And but thank you, but that's
always been the issue.
That's what I was going to say.
Actually now, during Mosaic Student Weekend, you'll have
but that's a reflection of the change.
White people here now, and they count as part of that minority.
And that's what, so that's
the economic minority.
So the recruitment design.
We come to that in a
Please,
no, the recruitment design is what. So that's my point. The recruitment has changed. So it's you know, again, this double-edged sword. The difference in the hustle and, you know, recruitment is because the student now is the individual. It's not, again, a student who has a sense of community. So when you don't know that you're supposed to hustle for everybody to eat and not just for you to eat, you know, you know, you think about things a little bit differently. So I think that may be, again, you know, the different kind of student when I say it's a different kind of student here. So when we knew that, you know, we really wanted to raise money because we wanted to do this project with, you know, people at Sankofa Academy, you know, we really wanted to make sure that all of the Greeks were there. We wanted to make sure we could feed, you know, our students who came with us and helped us tutor. You know, whatever the project was, you made the money to support that project. You know, if we was washing cars. You know, so in addition to the party, you made yourself, you know, aware in the community just outside. So we would be at TSU passing out flyers, you know, so making sure that we went out to the other community, whereas now I don't think that they, you know, that's, like you said, I mean, if the school is throwing you money, you're not thinking about money. You know, you're not really thinking about how you're going to make money for a certain project, but it's a different kind of student, so.
Like when we got here, it was black and white.
It was all black and white. And they didn't waste a second letting you know. They wanted you to know.
They didn't care.
And that was like, even like freshman year moving in, you see people hanging Confederate flags in windows, and you know, coming from New York and everything, it's like, I was like, oh my God, wow. And they were big, like covered the whole window.
Yeah, we were lucky in terms of being posse students because the posses before us kind of let us know, like, okay, look,
crazy.
You know, Maddie had told me that, you know, someone walked up to her and was like, oh, you know, rubbed her skin, like, oh, you really black, it doesn't come off. Like, oh,
yes, and that's like,
are you kidding me?
Not in this year,
You
not
know,
in this day and
or
age.
not being able to understand that Latin women are darker sometimes than African Americans. You know, so it was, we opened up a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
You know, we exposed them to a lot of our experiences that they just had no clue. You know, the only black people they might know is the gardener, the chauffeur.
Yeah, and that's all. And then Vanderbilt just perpetuated, you know, that same thing.
And it did, but with the same kind of environment.
Thing.
You know, the maintenance is black.
Right, right.
And they taking care of these white students. You know, so it was again physically, this place was.
They would stop Ray when he was doing his laundry on campus. Not knowing that he's supposed to hear.
The administration definitely did some foul things. Yeah. I told you she should have been on the camera, but no, she's speaking to the realness. I mean, that is an excellent. And again, that's what I'm saying. When I said the sense of community. Give her a microphone.
Good for me.
Come in the middle.
We're gonna go and expand.
I mean, our men were not welcome. We used to have dorm meetings, and they talk about how we're cooking chitlins. Like, somebody might have cooked with some ham hocks and some greens. For real, this is real. And they tried to ban what we could cook in our kitchen. Yet they're washing their hair in our kitchen. Men are walking around in our showers, and they want to complain about us cooking greens because the greens stink. But y'all got all kind of like cheeses and whatnot that are funky and nasty and sauerkraut. And I'm like,
and you talk about black shit.
Matter of fact, one morning freshman year, I left my dorm, going to Peabody, and as I was walking, I saw nooses hanging from trees. I was like, oh my God. I was like, yo, they got nooses in trees. So I ran to the Black Cultural Center because I was scared. I was like, what are they about to do, right? Like, what are they trying to say? So I told Ray. He finds out that the drama club or some theater production was doing like a medieval performance, and they were advertising for their play by hanging nooses in trees. Don't you know where the hell you are? You in damn ass Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? But that's not a thought for them, but that's what they gave us as an excuse, okay? The point is that no matter where you turned, they let you know you are not welcome here. And we had to fight against that just to go into class. You taking that to class, you're the only black person in a class. They asking you, so, do you play basketball? Or, you know, oh, you're from New York, oh, you go here? Yeah, what sport do you play? Why do I play a sport? How do you know that? I mean, it was crazy across all lines.
What's the, everybody, I think, at Vanderbilt has a one signature racist moment that for you it never left you. What's that one signature racist moment for you guys individually that you can think of?
I think mine, like I said, was when I was moving into my dorm and my mother left. And then later on that night, you know, I was approached and they wanted to have a race war, me against the rest of the whole hall. Like I said, I had the daughter of like a grand wizard of the KKK who lived on my floor. So that was pretty bad. Yeah.
And they came to you and said, we want to have
a race war?
Yes. Yeah. I said, you might know. Obviously, I'm still sitting here. But yeah, so that was the first, you know, incident. And then there was a series of incidents. Yeah. Most of them were subtle. I had a professor tell me, you know, you won't pass this class. You know, I had that happen. Why? Because you're black. You know, they straight up told me I wouldn't pass because I was black. I passed the class, but things like that. And then you'd have subtle, you know, more subtle things that are ingrained in the system. you not being supported academically. You know, I don't know how it is for pre-med students now, but, you know, in terms of our faculty advisors, I can say that I probably wasn't directed in the appropriate manner, or even at all. I probably was on my own trying to choose classes, figure out where I was supposed to go. You know, by the grace of God, I did end up there, but yeah, we had no support at all.
Your signature racist moment?
I don't know. I think y'all was all too scared of me. But I think Jackie talking about the Confederate flag, I know that was huge for this little brown girl. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So, you know, I didn't have the noose experience, but I was here and I remember that, oh yeah, this is why we did that, whatever. But I made him take it down because I could not physically walk out of my dorm room and look at a Confederate flag. That just wasn't gonna rock. And so her husband, our brother, you know, Michael Price, we went to his door and was like, what's that in your window? Okay, why is it hanging in your window? Because I want it up. Well, I don't want to see it. And that's just how that went. You know, so...
That's how that went, but there were plenty of Confederate flags flying around the quads.
They were not by my quad.
Okay.
I'm saying that when I walked out of my room, I didn't want to have to see that. I'm not talking about any other paths that other people might have taken. That was something that was just, no, I wasn't prepared to understand that. That was a past that I was not trying to relive. And if you want to celebrate and honor your daddy, your granddaddy, you have the right to do that. But I don't want to be honoring mine with that. And our ancestors had a history that, you know, was not fair. So, you know, but what happened from that, because again, we were able to commune at the house and, you know, be frustrated at the house and tell people what happened and have someone go back with you. You know, I had a big brother to go back with me, you know. Those are the kind of communities that we had, the support that we had, being here together and feeling, you know, frustrated with some of the things. And then moving forward with that, as RAs, you know, we made sure that it became part of the discussion. Right. You know, the freshmen were indoctrinated to some of the cultural issues that go on here. Those are some of the things that we made sure that the university did. We had a whole programming about the Confederate flag. Because, and you know, and then working with organizations like Project Dialogue, you know, making sure that we helped found those kind of things that got us to talk. Because it wasn't being talked about, because it was so subtle. You know, and so because it's subtle and it's nasty and it's only directed towards me, we have to hold that? Hell no. So I think not only did we, you know, we came together and got it out and, you know, cry, whatever you had to do, but then you had people who were willing to respond. And I think that's just the energy that really helped us to be successful here. You know, you knew it in your spirit. I'm still going to be here. You know, and you knew that you found people around who you could feel like that with. So, you know, no, we're going to talk about the flag, and it's all right to say how you feel. Ain't nobody going to fight you. You know, we don't have to get violent with it, but we're going to talk about it, and we're going to come to a resolution. And those are the kind of things that, you know, they were racial, but I just thank God that it went in a direction that allowed me to be successful. Because it could have went the other way. Yeah. It could have. I remember trying to count black people who were like, okay, there was one.
Yeah.
I think that's at Vanderbilt, though. What saved me was having 2 other black schools, 2 other HBCUs in the city.
That's what helped my decision.
Okay.
That's what was
and you could get off campus and have all the fun you wanted. Come right on back over here.
That's true.
Oh yeah. No,
I used to be up in Malibu. And I'm gonna go all the way back.
Didn't that burn down?
And like tracks and what was the name of that place? Whatever, you know.
That definitely, I know.
I mean, you had Fisk, you had, and so there are cultural things that you can get into.
I mean,
of course,
you know,
you just have to leave Vanderbilt.
You had to leave the bubble.
So,
aside from our personal invitations,
right?
Why did you guys decide to do that? To sit here and be interviewed?
Well, I was rolling with them, and then I just got into the conversation.
Which we knew she would. Yeah, Jeannie.
Right. Well, I mean, once I heard that this was being done, well, we're a part of the Black experience at Vanderbilt, so we got to say something, we got to talk about it. So that was really like the main thing too, you know. Plus you doing it, Rosie, so you know.
I think that's the only reason why I did it, is because Rosie's doing it. I'll be honest.
Oh.
I'm really glad I know I am.
No, but it is good that you're doing it though, because you know it's going to be like some truth.
Yeah, but you have seen
right
some of the things that people are talking about, so you have a testament, you know, and I think that that's important because I think, you know, you're going to have to stay true to what it is you want to present, and that's the part that's what's been missing. Right. People have not been staying true. You know, they've been co-opted. So I think that you'll be able to stay true to, you know, to present the information the way that it needs to be presented. And at the same time, I think
his timing.
His time, yeah.
His timing. I think you came in on the cusp of the hostility, and then the cusp of the, you know,
so you've seen
more
a bit of both. And you're here still seeing
benign environment for Blacks. So
that's good. But I wish the project luck.